Okay, my friends, today I'm going to show you how to make a better book cover with a couple of intermediate techniques with Inkscape. Okay, you know my favorite program is Inkscape. It's a free vector graphic program for Windows, Mac, and Linux. If you don't have it, go get it. So we are going to set up our page first. I like to use A4 because I'm in Europe, so if I ever need to print this out, then I already have it in the right paper size, and it's a very good paper size and a very good aspect ratio. If you're in America, use US letter size 8 by 5 by 11. Okay, so we went to Document Properties and we have A4. I'm going to make a rectangle with the rectangle tool here. Just going to click and drag it. I'm going to leave it like that right now with that weird outline. I'll get rid of that later. Now my friend's making a book about Zen and bicycle riding. So I thought it would be appropriate to go get a bicycle and a Zen circle. Okay, so let's download this in the downloads. And it's appropriate to try to find open source stuff as much as possible. We're going to mix and match here, so we don't have to worry too much. But I did find a Commons open source, open domain bicycle here. So we're going to download that. Full size image. Let's see how long it takes to get to Wikipedia. We're going to download this. Into the downloads. Okay, that's all we need for internet. So I get rid of internet. All I have open now is my Inkscape. File, import. Go to my downloads. I want that Zen circle first. There it is. We can link it. We don't need to keep it. Now I'm going to hit F1, which is the pointer tool. So the secret to getting ultra sharp graphics is to use a vector graphic tool like Inkscape. What you do is you take a JPEG like this and you vectorize it. So in Inkscape we're going to go to Path, Trace Bitmap. And I'm just going to trace it without messing around at all. I'm just going to use the defaults. Now remember, you have to have the object marked. So, okay. Is it done already? Yeah, it's done. You see that? You see how clean that is? That is a vector graphic. That is not a bitmap. So, now I get rid of this. Delete. I hit the delete button on my computer. Boom. That's it. Now, the wonderful thing about this is we can mark it, and hitting the control key to keep the aspect ratio, we can make it any size we want, and it stays razor sharp. That is a vector graphic. That's what it's all about. And we can export it to any size we want when we want to print our book cover. Let's go get that bicycle. File, import. There it is. It's already marked. We don't need to embed it. We're just going to link it. Okay, so we need to do the same thing. Let's make it a vector graphic. Now, you don't have to use path all the time. You can also take a graphic like this. I'm going to shove it over here now to get it into some clean space. And you can just use the bucket fill tool right here. So this is a very blocky graphic, so I'm just going to block it in. Let's see what happens. Just using the defaults, not touching anything. Clack. Aha! You see? Now it's an object. I'm going to hit F1 or the grabber tool. Get rid of that. You see that? Let the computer work for you. I'm deleting now the old one. Okay. Now we can really mess around with this. We can make the fill red. Like that. We can make the outline black. So here is the, where is it? Up here, this one. Or Control Shift F. Okay, so now that's the fill. We can change the fill any way we want, and you have many ways to change the colors. And here's the stroke. Let's make it black. I'm going to drag this all the way over there, and now the stroke is black. However, I want it white. So I can also go down here, and this is the fill. So that's what I want. Let's make that stroke smaller. Let's make it whatever, 4. You can also type in here. Let's make it exactly 5. Enter. There. I think I liked 4 better. 4. Okay, now let's do some fancy stuff with the path, shall we? Path, inset. Makes it smaller. I'm going to do that again. I like that. Let's do that again. We can do a dynamic offset too. Now I can grab here and just move it. This will really test your computer. I don't like that. Let's go back. Control Z. No dynamic offset. I'm just going to inset it some more. You can see the shortcuts. Control plus parentheses. Okay. Path. Inset. Did you see that? You have to mark it first. Mark it. Now I can do the path inset. One more time. Okay, that's what I want. Now, let's go to this view. View all objects is this one. Okay, what I want to do is make this wheel the Zen circle. Okay? So I need to cut off some stuff here. This is where we go F2, or the path tool. See that? Now I'm going to cut off everything I don't want. And I marked all of these points, and I'm just going to delete them. Delete. Delete. I'm using the delete key on my computer. Delete. Delete. Looks weird, doesn't it? Don't worry. Let's zoom in on this and fix it. Okay. F2, or this tool, right here. So this point right here has to go, as well as this point. Okay. Now what we need to do is get rid of that point. Now let's make this straight. You see how I marked these two? And now I'm going to make them straight with this tool right here. Path straightener. Boom. There you go. Let's make this one straight. No, just these two right here. You see how I marked those? Make them straight. Okay, let's see if we can use it like that. F1, the grabber. Will that work? I don't know. Let's bring it to the bottom. Well, that was too much. That might work. I can always get rid of these lines later in Photoshop. When I do the final export, I can just erase those. Or I could do it with the Path Effect Editor in Inkscape. What I want to do now is get a nice spread here. The best way to get the golden rule is to use a pentagon. I'm going to make a pentagon here. Okay. That looks kind of messed up. It's too big, so we go to the overall view. Control, drag. Now, I'm going to center it on the page. Page, center. There we go. I'm going to move it up with the arrows now and the shift key. Okay. Let's see. Let's make the pentagon exactly the size as the paper. Center it. Now, let's take out that fill. No fill. Okay. So I want my Zen circle in the exact middle of the pentagon. I want it a little bigger. Control, drag. I like that. I want this bike to be about there. Right in the middle. Okay. Now I'm going to make that a little bit more opaque so that it doesn't bug as much. We just want an idea of the golden rule here. Okay. Now, this is my page. It's also my object. Whatever I export will not be exported on that side. Let's add some text, shall we? We already thought of a title. It's called Moving Meditations by Dwayne Eilertson. So this is going to be one. This is the text tool. Use the grabber again. Center it on the page. And that is the subtitle. Let's make his title. His title is Baikus. B-I-K-U-S. Okay. F1. Put it on the middle of the page again. Now we're going to use the arrows to drop it down. Okay. Now I'm going to just hit Control D. Control D. Doom. I got another one. I'm going to go straight down using the arrows now. Okay. Now I'm going to hit F8. And my computer's broken. Okay, so now we want to put his name, and we're going to put by Dwayne Eilertson. F1. Let's put it on the center of the page again with the centering tool. There we go. Now Dwayne is also a New York Times best-selling author, so we're going to add that too, and we're going to change this later. It's not going to look like that, of course. We're just adding the text first. So text tool, okay, so now let's add best-selling author here. Text tool, and just type it in there. New York Times best-selling author. Okay, F1. Now we have to change it, of course. So we have almost the proper dimensions here. This is going to come down. This is going to come down. Now let's make that a little bit larger. F8 is our tool. And a little hint here, make the font size bigger instead of just dragging it with the dragging tool. Baikus. Okay. F1. Let's put it back in the center of the page. Alright, now we have to go back up. So, with the arrows and the shift key. Alright, let's choose a better font, shall we? F8. There's all sorts of weird fonts here. Yeah. Baikus. It doesn't look very zenmatic, does it? Isn't there anything more zen-like here? Comic Sans. Well, you're going to have to play around with the fonts. I don't have anything really zenmatic here. Baikus. Alright. Moving Meditations. F1. I want that up a bit. This one I'm going to make Times New Roman, or what I have, Deja Vu Serif. Sorry, I'm on a Linux machine here. I'm going to make it italic. There we go. Now, so Japanese like red, don't they? These scrolls and stuff had red stamps on them. We're going to get a stamp, but before we do that, I'm going to make this one red. We just go down here and change the fill. There, it's red. Okay. This one is also going to be my Linux version of Times. And okay. Okay, now what we do is move everything around the way we want it. That's too big. I'm going to hit the control button and move this. Drag it. Dwayne Eilertson is already in the middle. Check it. Baikus, Moving Meditations. Okay. Now, this bike is way too dark. I want to lighten it up. Nope, not the fill. Did you see that? I don't want the fill. I'm going to go to the fill tool. Get rid of the fill. The stroke. I want to make the stroke lighter, like that. I want to make this star disappear, but I'm going to wait. Right now, I'm going to go pick up my red stamp that I've made in another one. Okay, so I made this cool little red Japanese or Chinese style stamp for this painting or graphic. So I'm going to go copy and paste that and put it in to my other painting. Okay, see that down there? So I'm going to mark it. Now I'm going to hit Control C. Control C. I copied it. Now I'm going to put it in my new drawing. Right about there. Control V. There it is. And now I can zoom on it with the zoom in tool and make it the size I want. F1, Control, and there we go. I'm going to put it in the golden rule there. Now notice it's opaque. I don't want that. There should be no gradient. It should be full like that. Now I can hit it down here too, but that's the correct color right there. Okay. Now then, because Inkscape is such a heavy tool, I'm going to kill the other version of it where I got the stamp from. Go to my page view. Now I'm going to get rid of that pentagon. So, this is what I want. Now, I think I will make that stroke black. And 3 pixels. There we go. Now all we have to do is export it. But you know what? I think that thing is too big now. Let's make that a little bit smaller and move it up. Okay. Now mark your rectangle and export it. You can use the exporting tool up here or Control-Shift-E. Export bitmap. Make sure it's on selection. And now we decide, do we want to print it or do we want it just for a thumbnail? I'm going to make a thumbnail first. 90 dpi. That's plenty big, 761 by 1069. Desktop rectangle 2985. Okay, we can change the name later. Export. Okay, there we go. Let's see how it looks, shall we? There's my Inkscape drawing, and here it is. So, not bad for 10 minutes and the first draft. Now, notice it is razor sharp. We can export in any size we want, and now we can go back and mess around with some things, like, for example, let's make a drop shadow here. Oops. So, filters, shadows, drop shadow, apply. I think that looks really cool. That makes it stand out. Now, let's mark our rectangle again, and Control Shift E, selection. Let's rename it. Okay, export. Okay, that's it. I'm going to hit save, Control S, and I'm going to kill it right now. So that's version 1. Oh, I have to open this up. And here's version 2. How long did that take? About 20 minutes. And you've got a razor sharp, good looking graphic cover. Now we can mess with this for a long time if we want, but I just wanted to show you how to make razor sharp graphics and some of the great functions of Inkscape. So there's 1 and there's 2. I like that one better. Now I'm going to go back and mess with all of this writing again, and mess with fonts and all sorts of stuff. And I'll have to talk with Dwayne, see what he likes. But this is a way to make a better cover. Takes more time, a little bit more savvy, but you can do it. And you can start making your books. There's nothing holding you back now. You can make the covers and build the Mobi and start your book empire. Thanks for listening. Remember to go to my website, www.zbooks.co, and subscribe, and see you next time.